Hey guys, what's up? It's the Snake Dude 1814 here, and in this week's video, I'm going to be going over 5 tips on keeping water dragons in captivity. So, for tip number 1, I highly recommend just go big on the enclosure. And when I say go big, I'm not talking your biggest aquarium at your pet store. With water dragons, it's mandatory. There is no exception. You need to build a large habitat. The terrarium that I keep my female here in is custom built. If you want to see how I built it, click on the card right here. But it is 4 feet long, 2 feet deep, and 5 feet tall. And really, when it comes to water dragons, they are not like bearded dragons at all. They are active lizards. They move around, they swim, they climb. Completely different from a bearded dragon that spends most of the day basking and then retreating to the cooler ends of its habitat to feed and cool off. Water dragons, when they're moving around, they go from one place to another. And that is why I believe, in my opinion, it is very necessary that you go big with an enclosure. So, you may have heard a 55-gallon enclosure will last its whole life. A 40-gallon might work. No, just no. And the reason I say this is because, one, they don't understand how glass works. This is why my female, again, being kept in a nice wooden habitat, as well as having a raised wooden area on the ground, this will prevent her from nose-rubbing behavior, which is common when they are kept in glass enclosures. You can keep a baby in a glass habitat for about the first year of its life. After that, even then, a year is a long time. I personally have heard of people who keep water dragons, and they've already grown fast enough to where they're ready to be upgraded in 8 months after being purchased as a baby. So it's something you need to really consider if you're looking to keep this species a big, well-planned habitat with plenty of floor space, plenty of climbing space, and of course a large water pan that can fit in there. And that gets me to tip number 2, where I would highly recommend, of course, with a large habitat, have a nice big hot spot. Now, water dragons, yes, they are a little bit on the cooler end of temperatures. They do like it warm, though. With Harry, I provide a basking spot of about 120 degrees on the surface temp, of course. The air temperature will be about 100, but the actual spot where I point my temp gun, that'll read around 110 to 120, and that is perfect. Of course, though, with this hot basking spot, I'm also allowing her to have access to a cooler area of the habitat at around 77 degrees all the way on the bottom, with the middle range being 80, and then the cooler, should I say, end of the top corner at around 84 degrees. As for tip number 3, this obviously comes to the humidity aspect. They like it hot, but guys, water dragons get their name for a reason. They like to swim, but where they're also found from, there's water in high levels of humidity. Personally, I myself like to use a fog machine to control humidity. That is controlled via a hygrostat, which monitors the humidity levels in her tank, and that keeps her humidity at around 80 to 90%, which is where they need it. The one issue I've always seen with people who keep water dragons is they miss them frequently, and they think that's enough. But they're keeping them on carpet or paper towel and other substrate that really do not hold humidity. Now, if you're recently adding a new water dragon to your collection, say for breeding if you're into that, then you can use paper towel for the first month to make sure, obviously, quarantine purposes. I can talk about quarantine reptiles in another video though. But as I was saying, in terms of humidity, you want to make sure, one, you have a good source of humidity, which in my case is the fogger, and then of course provide bedding, which in my case I use the Zilla Jungle Mix. It is a blend of peat moss and sphagnum moss, so it's a nice earthy mixture that'll hold humidity when water touches it, and she likes to dig around in it some too, which is very interesting. But hey, she does what she likes to do. And that leads me to tip number 4, which would simply be bedding. Again, like I said, reptile carpet, meh. You know, paper towels, no. Like I said, the humidity is a very important aspect, but if you use bark, you can risk a baby eating a big piece and choking on it through impaction, and that is why I like to use the Zilla Jungle Mix. Now, I have seen people use Eco-Earth, but I actually once read in an article, and I'll see if I can link it in the description below, that Eco-Earth does seem to bug their eyes. In fact, the coconut core appears to bug their eyes in general. Harriet actually had this happen before I had her on a mix of Eco-Earth and Reptibark, and she did not do good with it. The coconut core got in her eyes, and the coconut fibers actually messed around with her and irritated her. I switched her to the Zilla Jungle Mix, and with no coconut core being naturally made out of peat and sphagnum moss, she's done great on it ever since. Which truly, if it benefits the lizard, why not? And again, in my case, If you read something that has a possible irritation issue, I'd rather play it safe with my water dragon and provide something that does not have coconut fiber in it so it doesn't irritate her eyes. And lastly, tip number 5 is water. Now, me personally, I just have a giant tub of water. I change it out daily to every other day. Pretty much whenever I see poop in it, I change it to make sure it stays as fresh as possible. And when I mean a tip for water, obviously all animals need water. However, with water dragons, I know there are people who spend $100 alone on just a fancy fish tank in there with a filter. Really, you don't need that. As long as you have a big tub of water that you can change, you can sterilize it easier, you can clean it easier, and quite frankly, I think she recognizes it as a really good area to use the bathroom. Now yes, they'll use the bathroom when you put a fish tank in there, but you need a filter. And quite frankly, if you decide to just fill up 20 gallons of water, you're not going to want to change that every other day. And if you don't have a filter in there, that becomes a disgusting poopy. That becomes a really disgusting poopy filth of an aquarium if you don't have a filter on there. So play it safe, play it easy, just do the work and change out a giant water tub every day. Personally, my tub is 3 gallons of water and it's super quick. It takes me like 10 minutes. So really, overall guys, I hope you found these quick tips helpful. Definitely if you're looking to own water dragons, they are a rewarding species. However, again, they're quite demanding. So again, I hope I didn't discourage anyone, but at the same time, they might not be the pet for you. So again, make sure if you like the video, you leave a like. If you want to see more, hit that subscribe button. I greatly appreciate it. Comment down below if you have any other questions that I might not have answered in this video. And until then, guys, this has been the Snake Dude 1814, my water dragon Harriet, and I will see you guys in the next video. Adios.